Week 10 must sit. These players are about to tank your week. But before I let you know who, welcome to the playlist. Thank you for kicking it. I am Jimsy and this is Fantasy on Repeat. I apologize ahead of time if you have any of these players. And if I'm wrong to say that they're a sit, let me know why, because I'm always down to chop it up. Let's go in and fill up this must-sit lineup. The first position I will do is going to be the quarterback, and we're going to start off with Jordan Love. He is super risky to start. Let's start off with the inconsistency, because Love has been inconsistent. He has a low fantasy floor, 5 out of 8 games under 16 points, and Week 9 versus Carolina, 10 fantasy points. Even that was supposed to be an easy matchup, and that didn't help. He's a boom or a bust quarterback, and his ceiling doesn't outweigh the risk. And now the matchup, he's going to face the Philadelphia Eagles, and they have improved. And Philly allows the second fewest passing touchdowns, and they just added an elite pass rusher in Jalen Phillips, and the pressure will be consistent. And the Eagles too, they're coming off a bye, and that always favors the defense. Sirianni's team's going to come out sharp and feeling refreshed, and Jordan Love just lost a key weapon. Tucker Kraft is out. Love's trusted target is gone. When Jordan Love was under pressure, Kraft was essential. Now the receiving core is already thin, and the fantasy production drops even further for Jordan Love. If you want to take a look back on his performances as well, Week 8 versus Pittsburgh, he had 28 points. It sounded good. Week 7 versus Arizona, 13 points. Week 6 versus Cincinnati, 16 points. And then Week 5 versus Dallas, he had 26 points. And if you notice anything here, it's inconsistent, it's unreliable, and too risky to start this week. So for Jordan Love, he's unpredictable. It's a tough matchup. His key weapon is gone. He's a boomer bust quarterback. I will sit him in Week 10, and he's just not worth the risk. Now going into my must-sit running back, he is the last man standing for this team, and so it's just too risky for me. It's going to be Breece Hall, and he's going to be facing a tough matchup ahead. Hall is going to face one of the league's best run defense in the Cleveland Browns. They allow the fewest fantasy points per game to running backs, and the Browns have dominated top backs this season, including Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs. They control the line of scrimmage, and they make it hard to break through. Cleveland also ranks lowest in rushing success rate, which is especially concerning for Hall, who relies on explosive carries to produce fantasy points. Again, with my must-sits, what goes in my consideration is inconsistent production. Week 8 was a standout performance, but in the games before that, Hall posted single-digit fantasy points in back-to-back weeks. His output heavily depends on the matchup. Against easier opponents, he's averaging 22.2 PPR fantasy points, but against tougher defenses, he averages just 7.4 PPR fantasy points. He's a boom or bust option at best, and he just has a weak supporting offense. The Jets' offense ranks near the bottom of the league in total yards and points per game, and we don't even know who the starting quarterback is. The team is expected to run a conservative game plan, and this limits Hall's scoring opportunities and caps his weekly ceiling. If you want to know his recent fantasy productions, Week 8 versus the Bengals, 133 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Week 7 versus the Panthers, 38 yards. Week 6 versus Broncos, 59 yards. Week 5 versus the Cowboys, 113 yards. Again, it's just too inconsistent for me. So now, Breece Hall faces a dominant run defense. He has a low floor, boomer bust profile, and plays on a struggling Jets offense. I would fade Hall in Week 10 and avoid the risk and seek safer options. And my next must-sit running back is the actual legit first boom or bust profile that we found, and this is going to be KIMANI Vidal. KIMANI Vidal is not a safe option this week for Week 10. He is a high-risk option. It's going to be a brutal matchup. Vidal faces the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their run defense is among the league's best. In Week 9, they held Jonathan Taylor just to 45 yards. Overall, Pittsburgh allows the 6th fewest fantasy points per game to opposing running backs this season, so this is a tough scenario for any running back. He has unreliable production because Vidal has flashes but remains inconsistent. Week 8 versus Minnesota, he had a strong outing, 117 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 reception for 10 yards, totaling 19.7 fantasy points. Week 9 at Tennessee, he had a poor outing, 12 carries for 30 yards and 0 touchdowns. He is heavily matchup dependent against top-tier defenses like Pittsburgh. His floor is going to be extremely low. The main concern we got now with KIMANI Vidal is his workload, because in Week 9, Jarrett Patterson took some carries, and that raises questions for Vidal's share of touches going forward. Getting fewer touches against a dominant Steelers front, you can just expect less production. And to wrap it up with KIMANI Vidal, he's going to be facing a top run defense and has inconsistent production and may see a fewer touches now. Sit him in Week 10. The matchup and uncertainty makes him too risky. My must-sit wide receiver has been on the struggle bus. He looks like he's been producing, but he hasn't. This is going to be Stephon Diggs, and he just, again, has inconsistent production. Diggs has struggled with the volume recently. Over the last 2 games, he's caught only 3 passes in each outing, and for a total of 52 yards. His target share is declining. The Patriots' young receivers, including Pop Douglas and Kayshon Boutte, are emerging, and they're cutting into Diggs' opportunities. With Diggs, man, he's definitely a touchdown dependent, and his recent fantasy points have relied on scores. If he doesn't reach the end zone, his production can be very low. Now the matchup that Diggs will be facing this week, he faces the Buccaneers, and they've been strong in the red zone, and Diggs relies heavily on the red zone opportunities, and that's a concern for his fantasy output. While Tampa Bay's defense is just average, they limited wide receivers' touchdowns. Only 3 of the last 14 touchdowns against them have came from wide receivers. That further lowers Diggs' ceiling. If you want to see the decline I'm talking about, in week 9 against the Bills, he had 10 receptions, 12 targets, 146 yards, giving 24.6 PPR points. Week 6 against the Titans, he had 7 receptions, 7 targets, 69 yards, 13.9 fantasy points. But here we go. Week 7 against the Saints, 3 receptions, 3 targets, 28 yards. Week 8 against the Browns, 3 receptions, 5 targets, 14 yards. Stephon Diggs faces a tough matchup and has declining targets and relies on touchdowns for points. Sit Diggs in week 10. He's too volatile this week. My next must-sit wide receiver, he was having a breakout season, and then after the bye, he just is gone now, man. This is Rome Odunze, and here's the real concern. He's been inconsistent lately. Target competition is rising, and he's dealing with an injury. He's a boom or bust, and his risk is high. Going to the inconsistent production lately, 3 games under 6 points. That is in full PPR scoring. Week 9, he gave you 0 fantasy points. Odunze's floor remains super low, high ceiling, but it's just still a volatile play. Now with his target competition increasing, Colson Loveland broke out, DJ Moore is steady, Luther Burden is also involved, Caleb Williams spreads the ball, Odunze's target share fluctuates too much. The quarterback accuracy concerns, Caleb Williams has struggled, his deep ball placement is off, and this limits Odunze's upside, and his production suffers on missed throws. In the minor injury update, he was limited practice on Thursday, he missed Wednesday's practice session entirely, and he's listed with an ankle and a heel injury. It's not serious, but it's still concerning, and it adds to his uncertainty in week 10. I was telling you before, earlier in the season, he was looking good, but before week 10, he had 31 receptions, 473 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns in 8 games played. That's 108.3 total PPR points. He's giving you about 13.5 per game on average. It looks good because he's talented, but it's just too inconsistent. The targets are unpredictable. The quarterback accuracy is shaking. And injuries add to the risk. So I would sit Rome Odunze. He's too volatile for me to trust. Now my must-sit tight end, he is not the same tight end he used to be. It's going to be TJ Hawkinson. He is struggling with JJ McCarthy. Since McCarthy became the starting quarterback, Hawkinson's fantasy numbers have dropped drastically. In McCarthy's 3 starts, he totaled just 15, 12, and 11 receiving yards. Week 9 offered a boost with his touchdown on a broken play, but he still managed only 8.1 half PPR points. Now going to the difficult matchup, Hawkins is going to be facing the Baltimore Ravens this week, and they are a tough matchup on tight ends all season. They're allowing the 7th fewest yards to the position, and on the last 2 weeks, they haven't given up a passing touchdown. Counting on Hawkinson to score is going to be risky this week. For the Vikings, their offense focused elsewhere. Jefferson is the top dog there in this offense, and the Vikings are leaning onto the run game, and Hawkinson's target share has been limited. He is no longer the focal point of this offense. It's sad to say, man, but he's just been an untrustworthy tight end this year. To wrap it up, though, he's going to be facing a tough defense. He has a low and inconsistent production, and he is competing for targets. Sit him in week 10. He's not the reliable tight end we thought he used to be. Now going into my must-sit flex position where I can choose any position I like, running back, wide receiver, tight end. I'm going to go with the wide receiver here because this is another player who was starting off super strong, but now it's just starting to fade. This is going to be DEEBO Samuel. And with my must-sits, it really involves with the inconsistencies because Samuel's fantasy output has dropped recently. He was super hot fire in the beginning of the year, top 10 wide receiver at one point. In week 6, it just fell off super hard. Samuel just scored a 5.4, 4.2, and 9.4 PPR fantasy points. And with what happened to Jaden Daniels back in week 9, Samuel's going to have to deal with Marcus Mariota now. And that playstyle that Marcus Mariota has, it doesn't really fit well with DEEBO. And the Commanders' offense has struggled without a consistent QB play and limiting Samuel's upside. The matchup that DEEBO has to face in week 10, he's going to have to go against the Detroit Lions, and they have been strong against wide receivers. This season, only 2 players have gained 100 receiving yards against them, and this is not an ideal matchup for Samuel. the decreased efficiency, Samuel's target share has always stayed high, except however his efficiency has declined. In the last 3 games, he recorded 12 catches for 67 yards on 17 targets. He is not converting on opportunities effectively. The bottom line, as DEEBO faces the difficult matchup, he has inconsistent QB play and struggle with efficiency. Sit Samuel this week. His team has been in shambles lately. And now my must-sit defense is about to get cheesed up. This is going to be the Packers DST. They do have a tough matchup ahead. The Eagles offense is strong and they protect the ball. They only have 3 turnovers this season. The few turnovers means it's going to limit their points. And Philadelphia scores a lot, averaging 26 points per game. This offensive line is elite. They have the 3rd fewest sacks allowed, and the Packers DST will struggle. And the Eagles are going to be well rested. I talked about this with Jordan Love, but they're coming off a week 9 bye. Their record when they come off the bye is 4-0. They added Jalen Phillips. They have better field position for the Eagles, and the Packers DST is going to stay on the field. The recent Packers DST performances: Week 8 versus the Steelers, 6 points. Week 7 versus the Cardinals, 9 points. Week 6 versus the Bengals, 2 points. In the end, this Packers DST is going to be facing a high-scoring Eagles offense, and they have few turnovers available. The Packers DST is unreliable. I would sit them in Week 10. All right, y'all, those are my must-sits that are going to tank your week. And if you don't agree with me, let me know why. I'm down to chop it up. And as always, thank you for kicking with me. I appreciate it. And if you need other recommendations, I might have some sneaky stashes coming out pretty soon. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, do your thing. Let's chop it up. Fantasy on repeat. Jimsy is out. Peace.